Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Yasim, and I have a question for you. A very important question. Are you scared of bunny rabbits? Before you answer that question, let me introduce you to the tiny bunny. Mwahaha! This is called Tiny Bunny. I'm not entirely sure what it's about, but maybe it's about evil bunnies. Instead of Planet of the Apes, maybe it's Planet of the Bunnies. Let's find out. Ooh, here we go. It looks cold. The wind clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own. The creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot in its days, and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitant. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves there was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. Or is it? I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12, after all. Still, I don't think it was a play. Episode 1, The Owl Will Arrive.
Убери книгу немедленно.
Hey, put away your book.
Сколько раз говорила, не читай за столом, вредно. Сидишь, сутулился весь.
How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look at how slouched you are. Oh yeah, I'm really bad about that too. Sorry, ma'am. Oh, hide it. Now you see it, now you don't. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olya had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials.
Пока не съешь, из-за стола не встанешь.
You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the Cousteau Odyssey. I love that show. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is, or how cold the black forest is at night. Uh-oh. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with the cold glare from her green eyes.
Что я говорила?
What did I just say?
Я достану.
I'll get it. Mom sounds like a bitch. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is this? Carved on the other side of the table. Karina? Ha! That's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagined her being my age, sitting under this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? I imagined my grandma coming into my little mom's room, sitting at the edge of her bed where Olya sleeps nowadays, and saying this in her soft, smooth voice.
Тайга особое место, детятка.
Taiga is a special place, little
Она
girl.
к тебе присматривается.
It's watching you closely, sniffing you
Словно
out,
хочет понять,
trying
что
to
ты за
discern what
зверь
kind of
такой.
beast you are.
Понравишься
If you're a
в
good
беде,
sort, it won't
небось.
abandon you in times
А
of
будешь
trouble.
проказничать,
But if you're a bad apple, it'll
схватит
grab you by the
за
side and drag
ручку.
you under the
Тащит.
ground.
Тут и дело.
That would be it? Grandma was caring. I love how the next line after it'll drag you under the ground is, Grandma was caring, such a sweet old lady. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. There were the times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in on one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her funeral. She had already bought a casket, and she called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time in the closet, patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all of the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures with gray faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Olya was done with her cookies and was looking at my stare like a sly woodland creature. I tuned my gaze toward the frosty window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed a picture on the glass.
Оля, гляди, лиса!
A fox! Olya, look! It's a fox!
Где?
Where? It looked almost like those optical illusion thingies they put on the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit and look under a certain
Да
angle...
не на улице, на стекле.
Not outside, on the window.
Смотри, вот нос, вот.
Look, here's the nose, and
Ну-ка,
here's...
доедай.
Hey, eat up.
Да, сейчас.
Yeah, just a moment.
Я ничего не вижу.
I don't see anything.
Живо. Совсем немного осталось.
Hurry up, there's not much left. Why is the mom rushing them? Are they like late for school or something?
А, вот. Но все равно не похоже.
Ah, there it is, but it still doesn't look like
А
one.
я говорю, похоже.
And I'm telling you, it does.
Не-а.
Nuh-uh. I love that.
Похоже.
It does.
Прекратите.
Stop
Ну что
it,
за
these
дети?
kids, I swear. Now, I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared, went away. Only the frosty pattern similar to stretched out nettle leaves kept creeping up on the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long measured steps. I want to have a beard like this when I grow up. Mom would always ask jokingly, come on, shave it off, it stings. This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olya always covers her ears whenever she hears something like, what's the point in all of this, through the wall. It's all for your sake, Dad would reply, for the sake of our family. I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that started with a D. D-I-V-D. Right, D-I-V-O, divorce. I don't even want to finish it. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two
Это что
different
твоя
families.
лиса? Вот у меня на окне сова.
Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl out my window.
Опять ты со своей совой.
You and your owl talk again.
Ты же вчера мне верил.
You said you believed me just yesterday.
Никто
Has
ключи
anybody
от
seen my car
машины не видел?
keys?
Вроде оставлял на
I remember
подоконнике.
leaving them on the windowsill.
Вроде.
Right.
Вроде оставлял, вроде
Maybe you
нет.
did, maybe not.
Вроде взрослый мужчина, отец двоих детей, а вроде...
Jeez. You're a grown man, a father of two, and still...
Перестань, пожалуйста,
Karina,
Карина.
please, stop.
Дай мне спокойно собраться.
Just let me get ready in peace.
В корзине твои ключи, возле телефона.
Your keys are in the basket near the phone.
Огромное тебе
Well, thank
человеческое
you very
спасибо.
much.
Антон, ешь быстрее, а то как мученик сидишь.
Anton, stop making a martyr out of yourself and finish eating already. But the owl!
Не было там никакой совы.
There was no owl.
Была.
But there was one.
Глазюки
It had
огромные.
giant glowing eyes.
Свет.
Olya sprung up from the chair and placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers the size of an apple each.
В прошлом году бабай в шкафу. Сейчас сова?
Last year you had Babai in your closet, and now this owl?
Но я же
But
видела.
I saw it. Olya shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad, Mom to me, but couldn't find
А
any
ты не
support.
думала подружиться с ней,
Have you
нет?
thought about befriending it?
Вымышленными
You
мышами покормить,
like
например?
feeding it with imaginary
Не
mice.
подначивай ребенка.
Don't bully our girl.
Просто мала еще.
She's
И
just
спать
afraid
одна
to sleep
боится.
alone because she's little. Olya pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and left, ringing with the keys he had just found. A minute had passed, and the theme from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. part of their world. You're welcome. It was stored on incredibly worn out cassette tape, which Dad already had to glue together once. It's so easy to fix objects by gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances out the window. Olya had trouble sleeping ever since we moved to this house. She would toss and turn or curl up into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. Uh-oh. And then Olya said she saw that giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of these ridiculous fears. Olya refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After last night, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words, what to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? Uh-oh, what's going on? Is this our room or Olya's room? That night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect from my new school. There were a couple of days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long, twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids, but all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and a pair of eyes blinked inside these holes. It was as if some completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat black silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down? Stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen to it. Doesn't really matter what. I didn't want to go there that badly. I didn't want to see people who were just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me, worse than the previous one. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider or some sort of monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olya begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number." Or, "Anton is not around." Anton is not around. I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all. But who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with the TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easygoing during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners, on the closet cobwebs, and under the stairs, but they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family with their ashen eyes were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking. Rusty drains were moaning. The attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed with the sound of the wind, of the creaking old house, and my thoughts, too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that this music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's like someone is playing it there, amidst the cold, snowy night, right? Do I have to? Oh, okay, it's just a window. Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, bathed in moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around, and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly, the music stopped. Uh-oh. They're looking at us. The dancing shadows froze in place, and I could swear, pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre snow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it was devoured by the pitch-black shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like the bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back toward the bed. They saw me! A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guests move and scrape around looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into the bed, covered myself with the blanket as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remembered the funeral, my grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of a chair that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up on her head and pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets, and she'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure. And now, lying under the blanket and listening to the squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same words. I don't know if witchcraft is the best solution. On the island of Buyan, underneath the blemished sun and the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood. There lay lard and ashen hair for the spawn from Devil's Lair, to feast and always leave alone, God's faithful servant named Anton. Evil, leave this house must. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. Oh, that must be me, I'm cute. I cautiously peeked out from under the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hanged man. And then the light doused me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone were scratching at the front door, hurriedly clawing at wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the floors intently as if he was looking for someone.
Мертвое к мертвому.
Ashes to ashes.
Живое к живому.
Dust to dust. I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then... Uh-oh. The doorknob twitched, slightly. Then it turned halfway, once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more, and then... it started clicking violently. My jaw cramped from fear, and my wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now, you'll see. The door was wide open. Oh, there's an eyeball. The darkness reached inside the carnivorous mouth of a doorway. Sha? I don't know. Sha? It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling, ensnared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole. I don't know. Toonie? My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me, Tusha, you asleep? My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief.
Я не сплю. Что случилось?
Olya, I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Olya frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry.
Оно опять прилетело и пялится на меня.
It's there again, staring at me. Shoo her away, Tasha, please. I'm so scared. The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Olya down.
Это был сон, глупая. Не пугайся. Сны не кусаются. Никто тебя не обидит.
It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Olya sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure
У меня
myself?
есть идея.
I have an idea.
Пойдем к тебе в комнату.
Let's go to your
Видео
room and watch the
посмотрим.
movie Sleeping
Спящую
Beauty.
красавицу. Ну, тебе же нравится этот
You like
мультик?
that cartoon, don't you?
Почему у спящей красавицы принц?
Why does the Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have this scary bird? The question took me by surprise.
Ладно, давай посмотрим Золушку.
All right, well, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window, and it couldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair.
Ты идешь?
Tasha, you coming?
Да, сейчас.
Yes, just a moment. Thank you for that. Jeez. It's still growling. So was it all a dream? That's why I didn't want to laugh at Olya and her owl in the morning. Uh-oh. Who would be visiting us here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a silly thought that our morning guest could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet? Under the table? Behind the curtains where Olya always hides?
Тоша, подойди-ка сюда.
Oh, is it Tosha? Tosha, come here. I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet, but still dragged them toward the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled the moment she saw police. She saw patrol cars. Worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused.
Здравствуйте.
Hello. The senior officer, who wore a grim expression,
Тут
nodded.
мальчик вчера потерялся. Вовой зовут.
A boy had gone missing yesterday. His name's Vova.
Глянь, пожалуйста. Ты его
Look
не
at this,
видел?
please. Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school pictured with a wall carpet as the backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile.
Нет.
No, I haven't.
Точно? Посмотри внимательнее.
Are you sure? Look closely. Nope, still haven't seen him.
Где мне его видеть? Я тут
Where would I
никого
see
не
him?
знаю.
I don't know
Да и
anyone
из дома
around here. I
почти
barely
не
leave the
выхожу.
house.
Может, видел в окно?
Well, maybe you've seen him from the window.
Да. У тебя ведь окна
That's
налево.
right. Your window looks straight at the forest, don't they? The window.
Нет, не видел.
No, I haven't seen anything.
Ясно.
I see. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt, which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway, and the cracks in the ceiling, which I hadn't noticed before for some reason.
Вы, кстати, как на новом месте? Попривыкли уже?
How do you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it?
Понемногу. Только вот дочка маленькая по
Bit by
городу
bit.
скучает.
It's just our little daughter misses the city a lot.
Скучает, значит.
This is the
Из
city, huh?
местных вас
Have the
никто не
locals been treating
беспокоит?
you well?
Все хорошо, спасибо.
Yes, everything is all right, thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his big brown eyes. My head started spinning.
Может, вам помочь как-то?
Can I help you somehow? I asked that in a shaky voice to look like a polite boy and to end this unpleasant conversation
Я
sooner.
вот стою и думаю,
Now that I think about
ты
it,
малец на племеша
you
моего
look
похож.
just like one of my nephews, little fella.
Шустрый парнишка твоих лет. С такими же окулярами. Все книжками
He's a witty boy
зачитывается.
around your age,
Детективами.
wears the same type of goggles. Always engrossed in reading those mystery novels.
Когда летом погостить приезжал, говорит, что в школу милиции мечтает поступить.
Told me he wants to enroll in police school when his family visited this summer.
Как я. Хотел
Wanted to
людям
help other
помогать.
people, just like me, you
Смекаешь?
see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me.
Ох,
You
ребятушки,
know what?
сидите-ка вы лучше дома.
Little boys like you should
ввязывайтесь
stay at
ни во
home,
что.
steer away from trouble.
Жизнь
Times have
сейчас
changed so
совсем
much.
другая пошла.
Mom interjected in a cold voice.
Мне ли не знать?
You don't say.
Ну да ладно. Ты, Антон, в каком классе учишься?
What grade are you in,
В
Anton?
шестом.
Sixth?
Друзей-то на
Have
новом
you made
месте
any
еще не
friends here so
завел?
far?
Пока нет. Я только после каникул в школу пойду.
Not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after the break.
Тогда вот вам на всякий случай мой номер. Звоните, если узнаете что.
Then I'll leave you my number just in case. Call me if you have any new information. Woo! All right, they're gone. We dodged a bullet. The policemen were gone along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne and the photo of a smiling boy. His face stood before my eyes. I wondered what it was like for him being all alone there. For some reason, I thought of the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I'd gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me, eventually?
Мам, а Вова этот в нашем лесу заблудился?
Mom, this Vova, did he go missing in our forest?
Выходит, что так. Бедный ребенок.
Seems like it, poor child. I looked out the window, at the road. The police UAZ drove off toward the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I've read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, bam, solved any complicated case. They became local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led to the forest. And then, it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find the lost boy, and I'll get a reward. Olya will be so happy. And not only Olya, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word. I fantasized about buying Olya a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself, and a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time my parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I had little to no idea what was the accountant's job like. They count money, I think. Neighbors could envy us, but nowadays Mom and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olya. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for
Пойду
clues.
погуляю.
I'm going outside.
Ага, сейчас.
Uh-oh. Yeah, right.
Чтобы потом милиционеры с твоей фотографией по домам ходили.
You want the police to go around with your photograph next?
Лес вон какой густой.
The forest is so
А
thick.
если мальчика звери дикие утащили? Или того хуже?
What if the boy got snatched up by wild animals? Or something even worse? Even worse echoed through the hallway.
Да я рядом буду. В лес не пойду.
I won't go far. I'll stay away from
Что
the
я тебе
forest.
сказала?
Did you
Мне
hear what I
дважды
said,
повторять.
or should I repeat myself?
Лучше портфель собери или соли поиграй.
Better go pack your school bag or play with Olya. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and Mom had the last word. The dark, stuffy closet. Mom says it smells like mice, but how would she know their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself on the freshly sharpened axe. And Olya can't even be lured close to it. She thinks Babai is living there. I tried to help her fight her fears once. I opened the door and turned on a dim lamp so she would see there was nothing but cobwebs, Dad's tools, and scratched walls. He still didn't believe me. And I like to hide in the closet and listen to Olya count outside. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Better hide from me. And then drag her feet on the creaking floorboards, hoping that she wouldn't need to look for me in the cramped monster's den. Can't go in there. Mom's peg top, a family relic. My mom played with it when she was little, then she gifted it to me. Olya was next in the succession line. The toy belonged to her now. We stared at the dancing spindle as if it could show her something, a fairy tale or maybe even our future. Now even my little sister was a bit too old for the old squeaky peg top. Can I click on anything else, or is that about it? This cross had seen so many people come and go in this house. It was black as if it absorbed all human sin from the long years it was hanging under the ceiling. After Grandma died, my mom was going to take it off and hang a horseshoe in its place as a lucky charm. But she cut herself with the cross-sharp corner and almost fell from the stepladder. Ouch! Dad called it aside from above and ordered the cross be left alone in its rightful place. My parents Oh, it was a phone. My parents prohibit me from making long-distance calls, but from time to time I really want to hear my old friends. Sometimes I would just pick up the phone, listen to the low hum of the Zimmer and the distant cracking, imagine the wind howling in the ice-leaden cords. I guess kitchen? What's this? Among that still life picture hung a piece of ruled paper with the phone number of the police officer who visited us. First Lieutenant Tikhanov? Tikhanov? I read inside my mind, look at the officer's sprawling handwriting. The scrap of paper was held by 2 pieces of broken magnet from the old Soviet toy, and those pieces just barely covered up the numbers as if to taunt me. I leaned toward it to unveil the mystery and take the piece to a safer place where it would wait for its time, when I would finally find Vova and be the first to call the police with the happy news.
Антон!
Mom's reproachful eyes stared
Зачем
at me.
тебе?
What do you need it for? Hands
потеряешь
off,
же.
you'll lose it. Angering my mom was the last thing I wanted, so I lowered my hand. It was difficult to lie to Mom, but there was no other way for me to run away from
Мам,
home.
там что-то с телевизором случилось.
Mom, something's wrong with the TV.
Картинка
The
какая-то
picture is
тусклая,
dim and there are
экран
stripes
весь
all over the
полосы.
screen. Mom's face became visibly
Без ножа
distorted.
меня режешь.
Ah, you're killing me
Застрелялся
here.
вот так.
So have you had enough of shooting those stupid ducks now?
Говорила же, посадите мне
Told you the
кинескоп
kind-
своей приставкой.
Kinescope? 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 Told you the kinescope will dim because of your console. Kinescope. I don't know if I said that right.
Где мы теперь мастера найдем в дыре этой, а?
Where will we find a TV technician in this
Может
hole,
быть,
huh?
просто настройки сбились.
Maybe it's just the settings.
Сходи,
Please
посмотри.
go see for yourself. Strange, it
Нормально
worked
же
fine
работает.
this morning.
Из-за снегопада, наверное, неполадки.
Maybe the snowfall caused it. Mom rubbed her hands, cleaned her apron, and went to Olya's room. Can we grab it now? Yes, we can grab it now. Okay, so we have senior lieutenant's number. I guess that's all we need. There's no time for this. Mom will come back soon. I can't click the radio either. I guess I have to go? Alright, I guess we're leaving. I opened the front gate and went into the fields, carefully so Mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half of the distance toward the forest, the snow piles became as high as my knees. I remembered my nightly fears. I saw those silhouettes around here. They were jumping around and holding hands. The hypnotizing music started playing in my head all on its own. In the light of day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. The sun turned my nightmares to ash, but the aftertaste was still there, distant, ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling on the snow alongside me. And a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent. So silent, I felt like the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Olya. The time reached its limit, a one-way trip that ended at the forest's piney stockade. Sometimes silent was much scarier than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Olya turned to stone listening to them. But then always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became a numb couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mom and Dad joked around, laughing, or spent time together, almost like it was all in a previous life. When they kissed with Olya present, she always frowned and snorted in a funny way, but one day it all changed. Something important had left our home, and something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if a fire broke out and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who, though? From the people with dead cold eyes who sometimes visited us in our previous home? The eyes that only saw balls of worms on the black ground and everything? And somewhere far away, a siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming menace. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and looked around. There was only me, this white field, and the wind that was whipping up icy dust and belts of powdered snow. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in contrast with the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered under the snow like fat snakes. Rotten leaves and coniferous needles froze into the ice. Hey, a mitten! Dry, prickling branches intertwined, bringing up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest? Or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from one of the pointy branches. I tried to get closer, drowning in snow, and when I almost got to the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird among the hungering semi-dark. Should I take it to the police? Their senior officer looked gloomy, but he still reminded me of Captain Casanova from my favorite TV show called The Streets of Broken Lights. He was always anxious with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Will this mitten help them find the lost boy? Bova! I heard a distant shout. Looked like it came from the river. Bova! As if the trees were calling out to someone. Bova resounded closer to me. Someone was standing there behind the trees, hiding. Bova! I don't see anybody behind the tree. Where? What tree? I don't know. I knew someone was looking for the lost boy, but still, something was unsettlingly about that figure. Its stillness, how it was bent unnaturally toward the ground. I still don't see it. It's blackness. There's nowhere. There's no one here, just branches and roots. It's all my imagination. A nearby bird flapped its wings loudly. Oh, he was there. A shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment, but when I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination after all. Silence reigned for a painfully long time. Better not jump scare me again. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for it. My muscles were tightly sprung. My heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whisper from the thicket, and I'd sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. We're taking it. I decided to take the lonely mitten from the branch. Bova! A shout rumbled across the field and dissolved into the distance. No echo, no hope for a reply. What's going on? I stepped toward the bristly trees and tried to calm my find. Proclaim. It didn't budge. I pulled harder. The branch cracked and the mitten tore off, landing in my hand with a squishy sound. All too heavy. Wet. I squeezed it without thinking, and something dark spilled from it, forming a tiny string between the mitten and the snow. Steam rose from the snow pile. Uh-oh, that's blood. I froze in place, studying my palms in disgust. Red. Sound of cracking branches invaded the silence. I didn't have to think twice before running away. Oh no, someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with giant leaps. Snow was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts flew through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one of reason. It gave me strength, spurred me on. You can do it. Don't stop. I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went numb. It felt like the sound had come from a pack of hungry beasts rather than a single one. Their nostrils sucked in freezing air. They sensed my fear. Two giant wings flapped above my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot, a wheeze. The roars were coming from all directions now. From the dried up raspberry bush, from twisted pines, from under the windfall. Hurry, run, don't look back. It felt like I was inside a nightmare. The snowy clearing became vicious like quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my leg from the mushy trap just to be caught in a new one, even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the snow pile was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forward. The pressure on my leg was gone. My boots slipped out of the hole and my soles were on a hard surface again. I reached a clear path with one jump and from there ran to my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. That house was my line of defense from the shadows that flapped their wings and the creatures that were hidden under the snow. I tripped over the doorstep and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks. As if a dog was striking the wood with his paws, demanding to be let in so it could escape the cold. I hadn't noticed these marks when I was leaving. The heartbeat in my ears was much louder than my surroundings. I couldn't hear whether someone was following me or not. What if they were already in our front yard and Mom had locked the door? Drowning in fear, I pulled on the doorknob and it obediently gave way. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch planks creaking as my pursuers ascended the stairs. My fingers slipped off the lock and I couldn't click it into place. I gritted my teeth and pulled hard on the iron knob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing on the other side of the pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than blankets. Wheezing breaths reached into the house and crashed at me in waves. It smelled of pine and sweat. Mom peeked out of the kitchen and chastised me with the same frigid voice she always used when talking to Dad.
Что конкретно тебе не ясно в просьбе не хлопай дверьми?
What exactly didn't understand when I told you to never slam the door? I'm surprised she's not getting on to us for going outside, because I thought she didn't want us to go outside.
Я случайно.
I didn't mean to. I snuck a glance at the door. The smell was gone and the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place, of course. Here, a mere 5 meters away from my mom, my fear was slowly weakening, melting like snow in spring, and with its last bit of strength, I had left my body too. My legs gave way. I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression had changed immediately. The cold mask of strictness and detachment was gone. Mom looked the same as before all of those quarrels. She finally saw my condition, my wet pants plastered with
Ты где
snow.
был? Я тебе что
Uh-oh,
говорила?
here it is.
Чтобы ты дома сидел.
Where have you been? What did I tell you, huh? I told you to stay home.
Я и для тебя
Am I
постараюсь.
nothing to you? I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like when I was little and wanted her to cuddle me. But Mom regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel, her voice
У
rang
отца
out.
сигареты пропали.
Your dad can't find his cigarettes.
Признавайся, ты
Be
их
honest, did you snatch them?
Курить
Were you
бегаешь?
smoking in secret?
Там за мной кто-то гнался.
There
думал,
was someone
я-
chasing me. I thought. I stuttered as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned toward me and sniffed my clothes like a beast, searching for the smell of tobacco. Then she squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked into the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant. She covered her mouth with her hand.
Гляди, вон же они.
Look, over
Прямо
there,
за
at the
забором.
fence. My heart started thumping, as if I became prey once again and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear that I've heard something scratch at the door, just like my nightmare. Mom beckoned me with her finger. I gathered all my remaining bravery to look into the kitchen window, facing my fear. I could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in snow through the icy winter patterns on the glass. Dogs? Just a small pack of strays, with no name and owner, barely reminding of the hungry monsters that live on the edge of the forest.
Божечки.
Oh boy, were you
Ты
scared of them?
испугался.
I think they'd rather be
Да
scared
они
of you,
сами тебя
Anton.
Они гнались за мной.
They were
словно за
chasing me,
зайцем.
like a bunny.
А вдруг они бешеные?
And what if they're rabid? The smile had slowly disappeared from Mom's face. Now she looked at the dogs as if it was her first time seeing
Что
them.
если они нападут на
What if
Олю?
they attack Olya? Olya? What about me? Your son?
Мам,
Mom, yeah,
О,
exactly.
твой отец их всех
I wish your
перестрелял.
dad could just shoot them all.
мама,
Mom,
Они
look, they're
живые.
А
alive.
что?
Huh?
Ты
What?
уж определись?
Are they your friend or foe after all? Make up your mind.
Не маленький ведь уже.
You're not a little kid anymore. Mom sighed in annoyance, and I felt so bitter that I bit my lower lip and fixed my gaze on the cobweb-ridden corner just to keep myself from crying. Well, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life among monsters, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. And what for? What use could I have for this? Mitten. Of course! A dark and sticky mitten that belonged to the lost boy made a squishy sound in my hand. Sounds like I was clutching it the whole time. That's my trump card as a detective. I hurried to present this clue to my mom.
мам, смотри, это Вовина варежка.
Mom, look! This is Vova's mitten.
Ну того, про которого
The boy
утром
the
милиция
police were asking
спрашивала.
about it in the morning.
Она вся в крови.
It's drenched in
на
blood.
дереве
I found it
висела.
hanging on the tree.
Вон там,
I can
могу
show
показать.
I can show where.
Давай в милицию скорее позвоним, как нас участковый просил.
Let's call the police right away, like the officer had told us to.
Мам, гляди!
Mom, look! Ew. A shadow of doubt slowly crept onto Mom's contorted face, as if she was trying to remember something distant. Like someone tries to remember their dream, but the images slip away.
А ну-ка прекрати сейчас же.
Stop it at this
Оля
moment.
тебя услышит,
Olya
с
will
ума
go
сойдет.
insane if she
Она и
hears
так
you.
не спит.
She already
На
has
всё
trouble
подряд
sleeping and
жалуется.
whines all the time.
Еще и ты со
And
своими
you joke
шуточками.
around like this? Oh. At that moment, I realized the mitten was actually wet from snow. There was no blood whatsoever. I wanted to sink through the floor from embarrassment.
Иди сюда, паникер.
Come here, my boy who cried
Да
wolf.
не стой
Oh,
столбом.
don't just stand there.
Вот.
Come take your pills. The golden-colored pill, reminiscent of a dead wasp, fell
Я
onto
уже
my
пил
palm.
сегодня.
I already
за
took one during breakfast.
Попререкайся
Don't
мне
talk
еще.
over me.
Сказала,
I
дома
told you to
сидеть.
stay home, and you?
Был бы отец
Dad would
выпорол.
have given you a good whipping for that.
Сейчас же выпей, а то
Come
ночью
on,
не
take
усну.
it, or you won't be able to sleep
Тебе
at
ведь в
night.
школу завтра.
And you have school tomorrow. So I had to swallow the bitter medicine, drinking it down with similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Vova's mitten. Maybe it wasn't a mitten at all. Just like the forest monsters. And Olya's owl. Am I going mad? What's happening to me? Either the pill had an immediate effect or my overexerted brain didn't fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing yawning indifference along with it.
Антон, выпил? Можешь, если захочешь.
Anton, you done? See? You can do it when you try.
Раздевайся.
Take off
Уснул,
your
что ли?
coat. Are you asleep?
Нет, мам.
No,
просто
Mom. I was just
Интересно, о
thinking.
чем же?
What about, I wonder?
Глупости всякие.
It's just something silly. Mom scrutinized me with suspicious eyes, as if she wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the
Точно все
forest.
нормально?
Is everything all
У
right?
тебя такое лицо было, когда
You
милиционер
had the
красный
exact same
спросил.
expression when the policeman asked you about the window.
Все нормально.
I'm all right, Mom. She heaved a deep sigh. Fine. It seemed like the house had changed. The sofa's fabric had become discolored. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The light bulbs also felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva inside my mouth had a different taste. A melody from Aladdin could be heard from the upper floor. A whole new world. I have to add the sound effects, you know? I just have to. Olya was done rewatching her favorite Little Mermaid episodes and switched to other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes, stopped before the sink, and studied my reflection in the mirror, like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar's and Yago's voices died down. I walked past Olya's bedroom and slipped into my own. One of my drawers was empty. I hid the policeman's phone number along with the mitten there. Hey, we got an achievement. Sweet. The simple action drained the last bit of strength from me. I sat on the bed, and only then I noticed there was someone behind the curtains. It looks like Olya, like you can kind of see her hair. My tired hand dropped to the sheets. Whether it was due to medication I took or the stress I underwent, the room began to contort as if the wind was blowing the walls out like a pair of sails. The corners of the room bent and undulated. The only stable thing in the whole room was the figure behind the windowsill and the curtains. A flimsy piece of cloth was stuck to my hidden visitor. It reminded me of burial sheets.
Оля,
Olya? Who else would be standing there? I stood up and licked my dried up lips.
очень
Yeah,
смешно.
Olya, it's so funny. The silhouette was unmoving. It was enveloped softly by the curtains. As if there was a thick layer of darkness there, not a human being. I reached toward the curtains. Ba-dum, ba-dum, beat my heart, controlled by medication. The wind sang in the fields with a chorus of voices. For a second, I wanted to return to my bed, just to lie down and watch the person behind the curtain, knowing full well they were looking back at me. They were looking without blinking, waiting for me to fall asleep. Plastic rings rustled against the holder when I pulled open the curtains.
Попался!
Gotcha!
Да я сразу понял, что это ты.
I knew it was you from the beginning. A blindingly bright halo lit up above Olya's head, with the setting sun as the background. My sister was shining. When she was just a baby, Dad always used to say she was shining with happiness. I always retorted, but Dad, she's not some flashlight. But I brought her to the window one day and sunlight poured on her smiling face. I felt like I was holding a light woven child.
А я все видела.
I saw everything.
Да ну,
Oh, really?
Что ты спрятал?
What did you hide? She was just like Mom when she was little, before she put on her sad mask of tiredness and switched to her commanding tone of
ничего,
voice.
просто...
It's nothing, just... Olya ran up to the table, her eyes round, and
Что-то
asked,
украл и
You
теперь
stole
прячешь?
something and hid it there?
Ты вор?
Are you a thief?
Что?
What?
Глупая.
Don't be stupid.
Ничего я не крал.
I didn't steal anything. A clear image came to mind, the mitten hanging from a tree branch. What if I did steal it after all? From the forest, from the tilted figure, standing behind black trees. Olya could be selfish and stubborn when she wanted.
Покажи тогда.
Then show me.
Поклянись, что никому
Swear
не
that you won't
скажешь.
tell anyone
Тогда
and I'll
покажу.
show you. Olya wore a plotting smile.
Клянусь маминым сердцем.
I swear on Mom's heart. And oh, she heard in one of the movies about the pioneers we've
Не
watched.
говори так.
Don't say things like that. Olya nodded and made a gesture with her hand, locking her mouth with an imaginary key. She was filled with curiosity that was splashing in her giant eyes. I opened the drawer and Olya leaned in, holding her breath. It looked like there was not just a simple mitten, but some sort of exotic critter.
Это чья-то варежка?
Is this someone's mitten? She said that as if she couldn't
Один
understand what she
мальчик
saw.
потерял. И сам потерялся.
A certain boy lost it and got
Теперь
got
понимаешь,
lost
как опасно
himself.
гулять в лесу, особенно детям.
Now do you understand how dangerous it is for kids to wander into the forest, right?
Наверное, там очень холодно.
It must be really cold out there.
Его найдут?
Will they find him?
Обязательно.
They will.
Участковый по домам ходит, всем фотографию его показывает.
The police are going house to house, showing his photo to everybody. Olya traversed the room with care and pressed her tiny palms against the window.
А почему он по домам ходит, а не по лесу?
And why are they going to the houses and not the forest?
Боится?
Are they scared? The question caught me off guard.
Милиционеры
The
ничего не
police aren't scared of
боятся. И
anything.
лес они прочесали.
They've already scouted the forest. Yeah, right. Yeah, right, flashed in my clouded mind. Did they really check every nook and cranny where darkness, cold, and whispers of icy branches dwell? If that's the case, how did they miss the mitten? Or did it appear later for me? I changed the topic, as if trying to get Olya as far away as possible from the forest thicket.
Если я сам найду пропавшего мальчика, нам, может,
We'll make
награду
it a
дадут.
reward if I go and find this boy by myself.
Кучу всякого, как в поле чудес.
A lot of stuff, like in the Wheel of Fortune.
Клево же.
Sounds cool, right? Olya wasn't listening to me. She was piercing the forest with incredibly adult eyes, uncharacteristic of her.
А что, если эта сова его утащила?
What if the owl got him?
Ерунда.
Nonsense.
Не может сова поднять
An
человека.
owl won't be able to lift a
Ну
human.
вот что.
But you know what? I was picking my words with utmost care. I forced them out of my overexerted
Ты в
brain.
лес не суйся. Мне кажется, он какой-то...
Stay away from the forest. I think
Как
it's...
бы сказать?
How should I put it? It's cursed or
Проклятый, что ли?
something.
Как в сказке.
Just like in a fairy tale.
Нет, скорее,
No,
как
more
на той
like in a
страшной
spooky
кассете,
tape our
что
parents
родители
hide from
прячут.
us. Olya shivered and slowly glanced at the window.
Я видела, как ты убегал.
I saw you running
За
away.
тобой кто-то гнался?
Someone was chasing you?
Нет, просто, чтобы мама не волновалась, спешил домой.
No, it's just I was hurrying back home so Mom won't be worried. As I looked at my sister, my heart was tearing apart. She was so fragile. It was so easy to stifle her light. A gust of wind and her small fire would be
Хорошо
gone.
тебе.
You're lucky.
Меня вот мама не пускает даже на крыльцо.
Mom won't even let me go
Как
outside.
принцесса в башне
I'm like a
сижу.
princess in the tower.
Никуда не
Can't go
могу
anywhere.
выйти. Так и умру тут.
I'll die from boredom here.
Не придумывай.
You're wrong.
От скуки еще
No one
никто
has
не
ever
умирал.
died of boredom.
У тебя же есть я и мультики, а мама с папой скоро помирятся.
And you have me and your cartoons, and Mom and Dad will be good to each other soon.
Знаешь, что бы я загадала на следующий день рождения?
You know what I would wish for on my next birthday?
Чтобы родители тоже в детей превратились. И мы бы все вместе играли, как раньше.
I'd wish for Mom and Dad to turn into children so we could go and play together like we used to. That is sad.
Ага. А если бы они стали размером с жука, то мы бы их в спичечный коробок посадили.
Yeah, and if you'd make them as small as bugs, we could place them into a little box. Olya giggled and tugged at my sleeve. She's literally so freaking cute.
Тоша, пойдем Аладдина смотреть.
Tosha, let's go watch Aladdin. Fatigue won over my desire to be with my little sister. I was washed over by some sort of heinous apathy.
Вымотался я.
I'm too
Что-то не
tired. I don't
хочется.
want to.
Ну пойдем.
Come on.
Мне скучно одной, а мама занята все время.
It's so boring alone, and Mom is always busy.
Можно выбрать другой мультик, который ты еще не видел.
We could pick a cartoon you haven't seen
Да
before.
я все наши
I
кассеты
know all of our
наизусть
tapes by
знаю.
heart at this point.
А вот и не все. Ты Питера
Not all of
Пэна
them.
не
You haven't
видел.
watched Peter Pan.
Помнишь, ты уснул на середине?
Remember how you fell asleep in the middle of it?
Там, потом,
And so much happens after that. Let's go, let's go.
Давай попозже.
Maybe a bit later.
Рассказать тебе, чем все закончилось?
Should I tell you how it ends?
Утром
Let's
расскажешь.
leave that for tomorrow.
Утром не захочу.
I won't tell you tomorrow.
Придумала.
I know,
давай
let's play hide and seek.
Нет, Оль.
No, Olya.
Тогда нарисуй мне динозавра.
Then draw me a dino.
Оля, блин.
Olya, please.
Нарисуй, нарисуй.
Draw it, draw it.
Да оставь ты меня в покое!
Did he yell at her? Leave me alone already. I blurted it out without thinking, and then I was immediately taken aback. I'd never screamed at my little sister like that. Olya stared at me in shock. Her lips started trembling, a precursor to tears. My chest was seething with disgust and embarrassment. What's happening to me? I hurried to prevent Olya from crying.
Ладно, уболтала. Давай смотреть мультики.
All right, you win. Let's go watch cartoons for a bit.
Уже не хочу.
I don't wanna. I came up to her, put my hand on her soft head.
Пойдем.
Let's go.
Peter Pan
Let's go watch Peter Pan.
Ага, ты опять уснешь.
Boo, you'll fall asleep again. I smiled and lifted her chin. Her eyes were wet and felt bottomless.
Не усну,
I
обещаю.
promise I
Потом я
won't,
тебе
and I'll
целого
draw you a full
трицератопса
Triceratops later.
Ура!
Hooray!
Цыри попса!
Ну, почти.
Well, close enough. Olya rubbed her eyes with the sleeve of her pajamas, and a shining smile returned to her
Давай ты
face.
пока кассету перемотаешь, а я у мамы попрошу сгущенки с хлебом.
I'll go ask Mom for condensed milk and bread, and you rewind the tape.
Только утром свежий привезли, как ты любишь.
The bread is fresh, just how you like
Неси,
it.
только аккуратнее, а то разольешь.
All right, just be careful not to spill the milk, or you'll get yelled at again.
Спорим, не разолью.
Want to bet? I won't spill it.
Кассета где-то в тумбочке. Поищи пока.
The tape is somewhere in the nightstand. Look for it. Olya disappeared into the doorway, and I dragged my feet into the neighboring room. Olya's countless toys. An old teddy bear is the main attraction here. Olya doesn't sleep without it, and she digs her nose into its fur when she sleeps. A piggy bank. Olya is saving money for a real puppy because Dad said that taking care of him will take a lot of money. What else can I click on? Anything? I guess we just go to the TV. The old Fulton TV was gathering dust in the corner. All that was left was clicking the button on the front panel. The tube warmed up and a familiar white noise started dancing on the black screen. I almost reached out to turn on the VCR when the noise calmed down and a blurry image appeared for a moment. Uh-oh. It was a dark taiga forest just like the one outside my window. The picture split the screen in half. Something creeping was resembling human speech and was coming out of the speaker. Just a few moments later, the screen was again overshadowed by noise. Did it catch some rogue signal? Local TV stations only really showed Soviet cartoons, and even that was pretty rare. And only just recently I used to always watch Robotech before school. It was so awesome. Maybe I should tinker with the antenna. What if I catch this channel again? On the other hand, Olya had asked me to find the tape. It wouldn't be nice to disappoint her, but in my sleepy state, I didn't have the strength to do all of it. We're gonna search for the tape. I found the tape I needed, thanks to its shabby spine. I got the black rectangle from its box. Oh, sweet. We got an achievement for spending the evening with our sister. The tape inside it rustled while rewinding to the beginning. This rustle was lulling me to sleep. Drowsiness attacked me while I was squatting before the TV. Images whirled in my head, me and Olya flying above the forest, tumbling into the soft clouds. My little sister is laughing, but her smile becomes more and more forced with every passing second. I notice that the clouds underneath us part, burying the bristly pine tops. Swampy darkness slipped among the trees. The wings are no longer able to hold us and Olya.
Ты не смотришь без меня?
You haven't started without me, have you? My sister brought the tray with unevenly cut bread and a whole can of condensed milk. I rubbed my
Нет,
eyes.
садись.
No, come sit.
Мама с папой опять ругаются.
Mom and Dad are arguing
У
again.
них сейчас
They're
период
going
такой.
through rough times.
Глупый какой-то период.
Rough times are lame. On the screen, Wendy was hiding Peter Pan's shadow into the dresser. Olya was entertained by the cartoonish dog Nana.
Может, и нам родители собачку купят?
Maybe Mom and Dad will buy us a dog too.
Ага, как
Yeah,
же.
right.
В Небылянде
I'll
у
have my
меня
own
будет
dog in
своя
the Neverland, and a cat, and a parrot. Olya smeared a slice of bread with a thick layer of condensed milk and handed
А у
it to me.
тебя все молочные зубы выпали?
Have you lost all your baby teeth?
Конечно.
Obviously. Olya frowned deep in thought.
Питера Пэна зубы молочные.
Peter Pan has baby teeth.
Вдруг со взрослыми зубами тебя не пустят в его страну.
What if they won't let you go to this land with adult teeth?
Мы что-нибудь обязательно придумаем.
We'll think of something.
Попросим папу исправить тебе возраст в паспорте.
We'll ask Dad to alter your age in the passport.
С чего это папа будет документы подделывать?
And why would Dad forge documents? Olya took a bite from the sandwich and started talking with her mouth full.
Будет. Мама говорила, что он так делал. А я подслушала.
I heard, Mom, that he did that before.
Смотри, уши вырастут, как у Дамбо.
You'll grow ears as big as Dumbo's. Olya got worried and touched her ear. I smiled to myself. My little sister was silent now. She just devoured bread, watching the adventures of Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, and James Hook. As if she got sucked into the fairy tale Neverland. To be honest, I also imagine myself there, in a land where no one ever ages, where no one argues over little things, where no one listens to fights and the sound of broken plates at night. I felt like I was dreaming with my eyes still open. Then my sister's scream pulled me back to reality.
Тоша, скорее, штору задерни!
Tosha, shut the curtains fast.
Зачем?
Why?
Никто же на тебя не смотрит.
No one's watching you.
Уже темно, а когда темнеет, прилетает сова.
It's dark. When it's dark, the owl comes. I'm scared. I got out of bed, fighting my drowsiness, and closed the curtains. I did my best not to look outside, toward the treetops, towards the taiga forest, which seemingly drew closer and closer. Of course, it was just a visual effect from shadows of branches scraping the snow.
Тоша, мама думает, что я напридумывала про сову.
Tosha, Mom thinks I made the owl up.
И папа
And Dad,
считает, что
too,
раз я
thinks I'm a liar since I'm
значит,
small.
крошка. А сова есть.
But the owl exists.
Честно,
Honestly, it does.
Ты же мне веришь,
You do believe me, right?
что она там и каждую ночь прилетает.
That it comes every night, and I swiftly grabbed Olya's hand and looked her in the eyes. I was trying to transfer at least some of my courage and determination. But did I really have those qualities?
Я тебе верю, слышишь?
Yes, I believe you, all right?
Только родителям больше
Just
не
don't nag our
рассказывай,
parents
Сан.
about it
У них
anymore.
и так хлопот
They're already
по горлу.
dealing with a lot,
Надо
so they'll just get mad at you.
Ты мне говори, если что
Come and
случится.
tell me if anything
И в
happens.
окно не смотри.
And don't look out the window.
Она хочет,
But
чтобы
when it
я
wants me to look,
смотрела.
Перехочет.
doesn't matter.
Притворись, что ее нет и не
Act
было
like it doesn't
никогда.
exist,
Что
it
она
never
выдумка,
existed.
как
Like it's made
родители
up,
говорят.
just like mom and dad say.
Ей ждать надоест, она улетит.
I'll get tired of waiting. It'll get tired of waiting and fly away. We did hear a hoot when we were running, so maybe there is an owl. We followed Peter Pan's adventures as if nothing had happened. As if the forest didn't kidnap kids. As if our parents weren't tearing each other apart bit by bit. Captain Hook was running away from a crocodile, and Captain Pan was headed to London on a gilded sailboat. By some miracle, I lasted longer than my sister. Olya's eyelids had dropped. She started snoring lightly, resting her chin on the side of the bed. I stood up and left Olya's room. I was looking out the window and studying the field when Mom peeked into my room.
Довольно баловства.
Enough playing
Завтра
around.
первый день
It's your
школы.
first day at school tomorrow.
Ложись, тебе надо выспаться.
Go to bed. You should sleep
Не
properly.
хочешь же ты, чтобы
You don't
тебя
want to
все
be teased for
дразнили
being too
Соней?
sleepy, right? Why not? Good night. You have school tomorrow. Get some sleep. I love you. Not, you're gonna get teased. All right, Mom. Adults think everything is so simple. As if sound sleep would ensure my classmates would like me. Exactly. I covered myself with a blanket up to my neck and listened to the house humming, to something invisible rustling in the corners. My inner voice had a question for me. Do I want to hear that mysterious flute again? Yes or no? Maybe it's just part of growing up and I can't fully understand my own desires. The forest wailed behind the barrier that was my walls. Some eternal entity wandered the fields. Branches shook as if calling for me. The wind howled on and on in the night. My thoughts were like annoying flies that entered my head before becoming weak and tangled. I didn't notice how I fell into slumber. It has come after all, the day I feared the most, the day of a new school term. Episode 2, Time to Play with You. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Okay, that was episode 1. I think we're going to stop it there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys for the next episode or the next video that I post.